Hi folks, today I wanted to share an experience with you that I had purchasing an indoor propane heater. We live in the Northeast, and in this part of the country, especially in the winter, it can get pretty cold. And occasionally we lose power, not very often, but occasionally we do. And whenever we do, the power company is usually pretty good about getting it restored quickly. But you know, sometimes things happen, and you can go a few days without power, especially if you look at, what happened in Texas in 2021 February when they lost power for a number of days. Or you look at what happened in North Carolina when somebody shot out one of the substations and they were without power for a number of days. And, things happen. So you want to try to be prepared as much as you can. So I decided to look into getting a propane heater, an indoor propane heater. And, a couple of things that were important to me are, number one is safety. You don't want to bring a heater into the house where you can put your family at risk. Second thing that was important to me was purchasing a heater that had enough BTUs that would heat up a fairly large space. So I went on YouTube, where I normally go to do my research, and I found just tons of videos on indoor propane heaters. And there are a number of manufacturers that make these things, and but I kind of zeroed in on one company in particular. It's called Mr. Heater, and they had a lot of options, from a small heater that they call the Little Buddy or the Buddy heater, up to like a 30,000 BTU indoor heater. So I wanted to make sure it was safe to use, so I did some searches on YouTube for safety, and I found a video that was made by Northeast RV. And what this man did was he went to his local fire department and he spoke with the fire chief, and he said, I want to put a propane heater in my camper, but I only want to do it if it's safe. So is there a way that you could check the air to make sure there's no carbon monoxide or low oxygen levels? And the fire chief said, absolutely. He said, we have a detector that we use, and that's exactly what it does. It checks carbon monoxide levels and oxygen levels. So what this person did was he brought his camper to the fire station, parked it in the parking lot, and the fire chief went out and they set the small heater up in the camper. They set it up on a table, which normally you wouldn't want to set a heater up on a table. Normally you would set it up on the floor, but for the purposes of this test, they set it up on a table, and the fire chief put the detector right beside the heater, and they set up a little cell phone camera, and they lit the heater. And this particular heater had a 1 pound propane bottle that screwed directly to the heater. So they turned it on. They turned it on high, and they closed up the camper, and they went outside and they looked through the window, and it ran for about 2.5 hours before it shut down. After it shut down, they went into the camper, and the fire chief picked up the device, and he said, yeah, there was no signal. There was no alert for high carbon monoxide levels and no signal for low oxygen levels. So he said, this is safe. It's safe to use indoors. He said, obviously you want to use some common sense. You don't want little children around the heater because it's very hot. They could get burned. You don't want to put it in a tightly closed space, because everyone knows fire needs 3 things to burn. It needs the fuel source, it needs heat, and it needs oxygen. If you take away any one of those things, the fire goes out. So he said, as long as the room has a little bit of oxygen flow into it, so where you're not going to burn up all the oxygen, it's safe to use. So after seeing that video, I said, well, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go with it. So the heater that I chose was a Mr. Heater 30,000 BTU open flame. They call it a blue flame heater. And You can either mount it permanently to a wall and permanently pipe in the propane, or you can use a propane bottle. So I opted for the 20-pound propane bottle. And I also purchased, didn't come with the heater, but it was an option. It was a 12-foot hose that you connect to the heater and to the propane bottle. And the propane, that hose has a regulator, because these stoves, these heaters, you can't use high pressure propane. It has to be a regulated amount of propane. So I bought the Mr. Heater hose with the regulator and the accessories to hook it up. And first thing I did was I mixed up a little bit of dishwashing soap with some water, and I tested all of the connections to make sure there were no propane leaks. And it's an easy way to do it. You can use soap and water. You could even use Windex, a spray bottle of Windex if you wanted to. But I tested it. There were no leaks. So I turned on the propane on this heater, which I'll show you later how you light it. It's got a little one button which is the igniter button, and then it has a knob that you turn. You hold it down and you light the pilot. And once the pilot lights, then you turn it up, and it has 5 settings, 1 through 5. 1 is low, 5 is high. So I lit the pilot. I turned the heater on, number 2, low setting, medium, kind of a medium setting. And it ran for about 5 minutes, and it was throwing plenty of heat and looked nice and clean, and a nice blue flame, no orange flickering flames. It was a nice solid blue flame. And after a few minutes, now I thought I could smell something like propane, but not exactly propane. I could just smell that something wasn't quite right. And I have a sensitive nose. I can smell things that a lot of people can't. That could be either good or bad, I don't know, but it is what it is. So I have that, and I could smell something. So I called my wife into the room and I said, "Can you smell anything that smells funny?" And she said, no, I don't. And she is sensitive to smoke. She's almost like allergic to smoke. But she said she couldn't smell anything. So I said, okay, it must be me. So she left the room. And then I cranked it up to 5, to the highest setting. And I'll tell you, that heater throws some heat. It heated up this is a fairly big kitchen, and it heated this kitchen up very quickly. But after about 5 or 6 minutes more, I could definitely smell something in the room. So I said, something isn't right. I want to try to find out what's going on here. Shut the heater down and turned off the propane at the tank. And I actually walked outside. I wanted to get some fresh air and kind of like clear my head a little bit. So I went outside for a couple minutes, and I came back into the kitchen. And I could definitely smell something. It wasn't really like a propane smell, but it was, something wasn't right. So I said, well, let me see if I can find out a way to detect if this thing is leaking. So I went back to YouTube and I searched for how to detect propane leaks. And I found that there are a number of devices that you can buy, and that's what they do. They're like gas sniffers, and they can detect a leak. So I ended up deciding on purchasing this one. This is a gas detector, and it's made by a company that it's combustible gas detector made by Yizhou is the name of the company. And I'll show you the way it works. It's a very simple device to use. Open this up like this. Take it out. And the wand, you just flip the wand up like this. And the way it works is there are lights over here, 6 lights that turn red if it detects gas. So what you do is you power it on, put on the on switch, and you see a little yellow light there, and I don't know if you can hear that, but it's ticking. You may not be able to hear it. It's not a very loud ticking, but when this yellow light goes out, which it just did, what you do is turn this dial all the way up to the top, and all 6 lights will come on. If you can see that, all 6 lights are turned on. And now you just slowly dial this dial down until the lights go out. And you can see they're starting to go out as I go down with the dial. Whoop, went down too much. So you can see going down, and you want to set it, what you're doing is setting the sensitivity, and you want to set it until that light just goes out. So it's just barely on. There it is, it just went out. Okay, so now to test it, what I did was I took one of these little butane lighters, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it for you right here. So you turn on the trigger, and you light the lighter. Now I'm gonna keep holding the trigger down and just blow out the flame. So the butane is still coming out of it. Now I'll put the butane right over the sensor here, and you can see that it's detecting the gas. So you can see that that light is on. So it detected that small amount of butane. 3 lights are on, and now that the butane is away from the device, you can see the lights are slowly going out. So it's clearing. And so if I waited long enough, it would go out. So I'm just going to turn it off now, and I'm going to show you the whole reason for this video is just to share the experience that I had with the heater that leaked. And it's not something that you want to have happen, but if you bought one of these heaters or even another brand or any indoor propane heater, and if you didn't have a sensitive sense of smell and it was leaking, you may never know. So as far as I'm concerned, this thing cost me, I think, $34 on Amazon. And for $34, it's worth it. If you buy an indoor propane heater, it's worth it to spend $34 and get one of these. It's $34 as of the time of this video. They may go up, they may go down in price, I don't know. But it's worth spending the money just for the peace of mind that, that you don't have a leak. If you did have a small leak, this thing will find it. So I'm going to set up the stove, and I'm going to show you how I've got everything configured and how it works. And I'm going to turn it on and turn it up, and then we'll use this leak detector and we'll see if it's still leaking. Okay, so this is the setup that I'm using. This is the propane tank, and you can see the regulator on there, and it's got I guess it's a filter, and the regulator controls the amount of pressure that goes to the stove, to the heater, so you're not overpowering the heater or causing a dangerous situation with too high pressure. And then this is the heater. It's a nice looking, you can see a nice clean looking heater. Like I said, you can mount it either permanently on a wall, or you can install the feet. So this, you can see it has 2 feet there, legs or feet, whatever you want to call them, but you can set it up either way, either on the floor or permanently mounted to the wall. And then on the top, there are 2 knobs. This is the striker to light the pilot, and this is the control to set the heat. And you can see it goes up from 1 to 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to light the pilot, light the heater, and they're going to use the gas detector to see if it still has a propane leak. Okay, so this is a close-up shot of the burner inside the heater. And right in the middle there, you can see the pilot. The pilot isn't lit right now, but I'm gonna light it. And the way you do that, I don't know if I can hold the phone and do this at the same time, is you turn this dial to pilot right there, and then hold down on the button and light the striker. Push the striker. And it's kind of hard to do all this at once, but you can see that the pilot has lit. And now I'm turning up the heat. I'm going to turn it up to 2. And you can see what a nice clean blue flame we have there. And I'm back, I'm about 2.5, 3 feet back from the stove, and I can really feel the heat right here. I mean, this thing really works nice. But the question is it leaking propane? And right now I can't smell anything, but I'm going to turn on my little detector here. You can see the yellow light. I don't know if you can hear the ticking or not. I'm going to turn this dial all the way up. And when the yellow light goes out, it's on. So now I'm going to slowly dial this dial back, very sensitive, until all the lights go out. And it's almost out. There it is. Okay, so now let's move this near the propane heater. And you can see that I'm holding the wand right above the top of the propane heater here. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but there are 3 lights lit. So it's definitely detecting a gas leak. And you wouldn't think that there would be a gas leak. When you look at the flame, it looks like, how could there possibly be a gas leak? But there is. And it's been maybe 2 minutes or so, 2 or 3 minutes since I lit this. And I can smell just the slightest smell of propane in the room. So this is the whole purpose of this video, just so you could see this. And you know, if you do get into a propane heater, maybe you would consider buying one of these gas leak detectors, just to make sure that the heater that you have purchased does not have a leak. Just so you would have that peace of mind. Okay. So I'm going to shut it down now. Just come over and turn this all the way to the right. There, now it's off. You can see the flame is off. And I'm also going to close the valve on the propane tank. Shut it all down. And I'll wait until the room gets cleared. And then I'll just wrap up my thoughts. So just to wrap this video up, I just want to say that I am returning the heater. I called Mr. Heater and got to speak to one of their technicians, and he said, yeah, that you should return that right away. So I had purchased it through Amazon. So I went to the Amazon website to do a return, and I got a message saying that this item could not be returned. Please contact customer service. So I said, okay. So I found the Amazon phone number. I contacted customer service, and they said that because it was sold by a third party, which I didn't realize. I thought I was buying it from Amazon, but I was actually buying it from a third party. She said that she would initiate a return, and actually I wanted a replacement. I didn't want to just return it for a refund. I did want to replace it because I do want a heater. I do need a heater, and I do like that heater. I think the Mr. Heater product it's a good product. I think that, you know, mine may have gotten damaged a little bit in delivery and shipment. The box, when it came in, it did have some damage on the outside of the box, but when I unboxed it, the heater itself did not have any damage. So I figured, okay, this is fine. But so the woman in customer service initiated the replacement, and she said it could take up to 48 hours before you hear from the company. So I'm thinking like, oh, okay, so here we go. But got off the phone with her, and within 30 minutes, I had gotten an email from the company, the third-party company that sold me the heater, saying, yes, no problem, we want to satisfy you, we want to give you a replacement heater. And they sent a return label, free freight. So all I have to do is box the heater back up, take it to UPS, and once they receive this heater back, they'll send me another one, and I'll go through the process again, and you know, hopefully I get one that doesn't leak, and we'll have a good Mr. Heater to keep our room warm this winter. So I just want to one more time just mention this little device here, and there are other brands. You don't have to buy this particular one. There are several other brands. They're all priced similarly, so you know, they're all in the ballpark of $30 to $35. But I think just for the peace of mind, just to know that you don't have a gas leak, that this is a good little gadget to get. And even if you have a gas stove or a gas dryer or any gas products in your home, you could use this to see if it has a leak. And I just want to quickly read on the package that came with this. There's a little card in here, and it lists all the different types of gases that this will detect: natural gas, gasoline, fuel, spraying fuel, propane, industrial solvent, naphtha, acetone, butane, methane, ethanol, ammonia. It'll even detect ammonia. So yeah, that's about it. I just hope this. I've watched so many YouTube videos through the years, and so many times YouTube has helped me out. So the purpose of me making this video is just hoping that I can maybe help somebody else out, and that's it. Hope the video helps. Thanks for watching.